would. Don't kill me, man! Don't kill me! Don't kill me, man!
I'm not going to kill you. I want you to do me a favor. I want you to tell all your friends about me.
What are you?
I'm Batman.
Welcome back, dancers, to Geek Salad's retro movie review. This is a new series that Mike and I are doing where we're going to discuss movies from the past in a little more depth than we usually do on our show, Geek Salad. So, just to introduce, I'm Andy.
And I'm Mike.
And we host a little show on the intranets called Geek Salad, which you can listen to at geeksalad.podbean.com. And we'll go over the housekeeping with that in just a little bit. So for our introductory video, we are going to discuss one of the classics of geekdom, one of the pillars, if you will, 1989's Batman.
Yeah, we discussed we really went over long and hard about which movie we wanted to tackle first.
Right.
And finally, it was like, you know what? Batman '89, it seems like a perfect movie because it's a nice blend of nostalgia along with being one of the real pillars of the current comic book movie genre. Right.
And that's kind of what we're going to do. We had done something similar with this when we reviewed every movie in the Marvel Cinematic Universe. Format's going to be roughly about the same. A couple things different here and there because we're not dealing with an all-around cinematic universe. We're dealing with a standalone movie. We're going to try to do these every week, if not every other week. And there are going to be varying types of genre. You know, superhero this week, something different next time.
Yeah, we're open for dramas, comedies, maybe even horror if we can. But neither one of us is really big horror guys, so
right, exactly. And you're a little bit bigger of a horror fan than I am with the Friday the 13th stuff, but
yeah, I got the box set right over there.
Yeah, I know. So let's just start out, Mike. When was the first time you saw Batman?
I'm pretty sure the first time I saw it was on Channel 56. Probably in the 80s, early 90s.
89, so it would have been the 90s.
Was it 80?
It was 89.
You're right. I for some reason I thought it was earlier than that, but no. So yeah, sometime in the 90s I saw it on I think Channel 56.
Okay.
And I just adored it. It was it was mind blowing at the time, and I couldn't get enough of it. And then I just kind of laid off for a while, and I just recently rewatched it, and we'll discuss our opinions, our current opinions. What about you?
I actually saw it opening night. I was doing a summer temp job, counting inventory at oh good lord, it wasn't J.C. Penney. There was another store in Shoppers World at the time.
Marshalls?
No, it wasn't Marshalls. Good lord, this is going to drive me nuts. I don't even remember the name of the store. But yeah, I went. I left work and went straight to the movies, and this is one of the first movies I saw by myself. And I was kind of locked in because I was a Tim Burton fan to begin with. At the time, I adored Beetlejuice, and I really, really loved Pee-wee's Big Adventure. So for me, kind of being at that point, 17 years old and being a huge movie fan, not to the point where I'm at right now, but I really loved Tim Burton's work, and I was really happy that this was the next big step for him, and this was going to lead to bigger and better for him. So that's kind of why I was kind of a passive Batman fan at the time. And then my allegiance to Batman after this movie kind of came up with it was just essentially his movie base to begin with. Mm. So, not exactly the biggest Batman fan in the world, but still enough that, still enough that I enjoyed a lot of the stories. Anyway, so you recently rewatched this movie, and I started rewatching it, but I've watched it enough times that it's kind of like indelibly imprinted in my brain. what did you like about Batman? Coming from a recent view.
Well, first off, let me say that Bob Kane is a piece of shit.
Well, no, that wasn't really Bob Kane, though.
Huh?
That wasn't really Bob Kane.
No, but just in general, he's a piece of shit for what he did to Bill Fingers.
Oh, okay, there's that. Yep, okay, sorry. I thought you were talking about the guy who handed Knox that picture, because that was marked with Bob Kane on it.
Yeah, that's what we would have gotten if Bob Kane hadn't worked with Bill Fingers.
What a dick.
Yeah, I'm just throwing it out there because he is.
Okay.
But I mean, what really worked? I mean, first off, Michael Keaton is both Bruce Wayne and Batman. We get a lot of, we've had a lot of actors play Batman, but very few of them have been able to do both the dual role. And I thought Michael Keaton, he really found that, huh?
Wrong Batman franchise.
Yeah. he really found that nice like balance point. I mean, even Christian Bale, I thought he was a lot better Batman than he was Bruce Wayne.
Yep.
The only person I think that's done it better than Keaton is Kevin Conroy.
Right, and I'm just the kind of person who's hesitant to put Conroy in that conversation, mainly
because he's always going to be the best.
He's not going to just be the best. He's also the animated Batman.
Yeah.
He has this longevity that no actor can have because he doesn't have to put himself in that physical discomfort of putting that suit on or anything like that. So, I mean, I love Kevin Conroy's work, but it's just like, do you really count him as Batman when you're talking cinematic Batman?
Well, I mean, there were cinematic movies with the animated Batman, so
yeah.
Technically, yes, but I get where you're coming from.
Right.
Yeah.
It's just tough to compare the voice actor to somebody who actually has to embody that character, mind, body, and soul.
Yes.
Yeah, I agree with you. I think that Keaton definitely is the best of both worlds. I love how Bruce Wayne has that insecurity to him, which I think works because of the uproar about Michael Caine getting cast in the first friggin' place.
Yeah, well, yeah. Just be glad Twitter didn't exist at that point.
Right. Oh, God, the internet in general would have exploded.
Yeah.
As we, spill our Jolt Colas all over ourselves and write angry letters to Starlog magazine because it was an ugly time, and it wasn't a percent of what we could deal with now.
Yeah, people were opening their sodas, pouring in Pop Rocks, and then pulling it at the studio.
Exactly, throwing it. I thought he excelled at what he did. And I think that really, really works. Even to this day, he's the archetype of how cinematic Batman is. Quiet, stoic, gravelly voice.
Yeah. And just, I mean, even his Bruce Wayne was almost like complete opposite of that, but you always had that, like, I don't know, even, like the opening scene where he's, meeting Knox and Vale in the armor room.
Yeah.
He's got that kind of like that playfulness, but there's always just something. There's always just something unknowable about him. He's always keeping something very close to the vest that obviously you know what it is, but he portrayed it very, very closely and very well.
Yeah. I feel bad too because he is second fiddle in his own movie. And we'll get into that because it's kind of like a main talking point. But I think he's just, I love Christian Bale's Batman. Christian Bale will probably be my favorite Batman, but Michael Keaton is so up there. Yeah. And I think the artwork, Anton Furst's artwork in the movie, is just, I mean, it's the best looking Batman movie.
Yeah, it's. I mean, the style of Gotham is very Burton-esque. But for how you know Gotham to be, it actually really works. Kind of like that reality, but slightly tinged towards the gothic. It's it's like it's askew. It's reality, but slightly askew.
Right. It wasn't as goofy as the '60s Batman. It wasn't rich and colorful. I mean, the color palette that they're essentially using throughout the movie is a lot of blacks, a lot of grays, and even stuff like the Joker isn't that colorful. It's a lot of deep purples and stuff like that. There's not a lot of there's not a lot of blue, a lot of reds, a lot of yellows in it. It's every color, even the bright, happy party colors, are dark colors.
Yeah.
And that definitely set the tone for every superhero movie.
For good or for ill,
At least every DC movie and every non-MCU Marvel movie.
Yeah, I mean, I think Blade owes a great deal to this movie.
It created GrimDark.
Yeah.
Yeah. Other than that, in terms of Danny Elfman's score is another win.
Absolutely. Although I prefer his. I mean, obviously the Batman theme is iconic now. The rest of the movie, I thought was good, but not his best for me.
Right. It's definitely not his best, because that would come in the next Tim Burton film, which is Edward Scissorhands. But
yeah,
it's definitely it is unmistakable Elfman.
Oh, absolutely.
You're right about the theme. The theme makes the movie. And obviously it carries into Batman Returns as well, which is fantastic, and that's rule one of composing a movie score. But there's a lot of nice little bits, a lot of like that just that piano thumping, and it's not nearly as mystical or as odd as like Beetlejuice was, or some of Elfman's other work with Tim Burton.
Yeah. But I mean, obviously, the theme itself was so iconic. They brought it over into the animated series.
Yeah, for the most part, I think it's a slight variation of it.
Yeah,
it's that's Shirley Walker, right?
You know it better than I do. So
yeah, I think it's Shirley Walker who did the theme. I can look it up later. Yeah. But I think Danny Elfman had some input on that score. Apart from that,
I do have another definite bonus on this one.
Yeah.
I had forgotten how good Michael Gow was as Alfred.
Yes. Thank you for bringing him up, because he's the last man standing in that series of movies.
Yeah, I mean, you can ignore 3 and 4, but just viewing his role as Alfred in this movie alone, he is the rock that Bruce really relies upon,
right, to
keep him still human.
Right, and he doesn't do it in a martyring way. I mean, as much as I loved Michael Caine in the Dark Knight trilogy, he was there as more of a father figure, but he was there just to, oh, Master Bruce, don't do that. Alfred, Michael Goff's Alfred is different. He lets his feelings be known when it's appropriate. And yeah, it's just that I think that his work is more understated. He's not there as a partner, but he's there as this piece of Bruce's life that keeps coming back when he needs him to.
Right. I mean, the scene where Bruce and Vicky are having dinner in Alfred's little room there.
Yeah.
And he's telling the story about Bruce when he was a kid. It's like, that is the father figure that Bruce lost and regained.
Right.
Through Alfred.
Right. And he's very charming too, and that's the thing, is that he's just not Bruce's stuffy butler.
Mm.
He can open up, and he can do that. And Vicky Vale is one of the few characters in subsequent movies even who really notices the relationship that Bruce has with Alfred and brings up right away. He loves you very much.
Yeah.
So it's when I was 17 and this movie came out, this was one of my all-time favorite movies. I would be hard-pressed now, though, to include this even in my top 10 superhero movies, and that's being equitable with additional DC movies being added in there.
Yeah.
This movie, and this is kind of where we tie into how it holds up or whatever and what doesn't work. This movie did not age well, which is kind of sad because it takes place kind of in this time period. It doesn't take place in '89, even though, Prince's music is everywhere. There's not a whole lot of like modern clothing, a lot of modern appliances or anything like that. It's this time period where mobsters still wear suits and hats and
it's a very retro style, but it's like it's retro modern, I would say.
Right. Which is strange that the movie doesn't age. It doesn't look as good as it used to.
Yeah, I honestly, I think the thing that most dates and most kind of makes this movie not hold up as well is the better Batman movies that have come later. I mean, watching this one, it was impossible for me to not draw the occasional comparison between, the Batman Begins and The Dark Knight, especially. And I'm like, I can see how good this was at the time and how it, formed the cornerstone for those movies later. But those movies later, they surpassed it.
Right. And that's the weird thing, that this movie, when it came out, was a marketing juggernaut. Even though they had, count them, 3 action figures. They had Batman, Joker, and Bob the Goon. And that was it.
Okay.
Yeah. But the T-shirts. I mean, this isn't an original '89. I had an original '89 T-shirt. They all end up like this, by the way, with the little kind of just wear. The poster. I mean, the posters were everywhere. I always say this about that Batman poster, that initial teaser poster. Batman was so big you couldn't contain it because the sides were cut off of the poster.
Yeah. I think my uncle gave me a Batman mug I hadn't even seen the movie, and he gave me a mug with a big old Batman symbol on it. I thought it was the coolest thing.
And I mean, the thing with that is that was the big marketing movie. Batman Returns had difficulties because it wasn't as kid friendly. They had to pull the McDonald's marketing from there. Batman Forever kind of got that back, but Batman Forever is a movie people remember liking until they see it a second time. And then there's Batman and Robin, which is infamous on its own.
And not in a good way.
No. I feel that out of these 4 movies, Batman Returns is the better movie.
I would need to rewatch it. I haven't seen it in ages, and even then, I only saw clips of it.
Right.
But having just rewatched this one, when we did our Marvel when we did our Batman show, I was very much of the opinion that Batman '89 was a better Batman movie than Batman Returns. Upon rewatching it, I'm more open to the fact that Batman Returns may be a better movie.
Batman Returns is more of a Batman movie than Batman is. And that brings us to what does not work about this movie. And this is a hindsight is 2020 type of argument.
Yes.
Jack Nicholson does not work in this movie.
I'll say that when he's first the Joker and he first starts his kind of campaign, I actually thought he worked really well.
He worked better.
Yeah.
It's you know when it is? Because yes, I can agree with that. It's the scene
in the art museum. Yes.
And the art museum, when the party man scene is great. When he and his goons are busting up and vandalizing, that is fantastic. The second he sits down and talks to Vicky Vale, that is when he becomes Jack Nicholson.
Yeah.
And from that point on, he is Jack Nicholson. He ceased to be the Joker.
I'm not going to lie. There are several scenes, especially towards the in the climactic battle, when I looked down, I was like, "Whoa, he's looking like almost so spot on to Sid Caesar in that scene."
Cesar Romero.
Yeah, sorry. Yeah, Cesar Romero. He was taking on a few Cesar Romero aspects, especially towards the end. That I was like, that's a change in the character that I did not want to see.
It's tough because when I was watching it, the one thing that struck me this time around that I never really thought of was the fact that you were given an origin story for Joker, which we agree, and now more so than ever with this stupid Joaquin Phoenix Joker origin movie coming out, that you don't need an origin story for this. Heath Ledger proved that when he played the Joker, that you can lie about your origin all you want. That's what's fun about it. Nobody knows the truth about that. So seeing Jack Napier, because they gave him a name, because of course they did, is dropped into a pool of acid, which is technically true if you look at the Red Hood.
Yeah.
The story of the Red Hood. And Killing Joke. Those are in there. That stuff is in there. But it's just that it ceases to be a Batman movie and becomes the Jack Nicholson in whiteface movie.
Yeah. I don't know. I mean, there are. One other thing I did, I took a whole bunch of notes on this movie. One thing I did notice that when like Bruce was in the Batcave looking up like the history of Jack Napier, it says aptitudes include science, chemistry, and art. When did we get that evidence? I mean, I would have liked just kind of some scene, but instead, like, we kind of need him to have an aptitude for science and chemistry so he can do the Joker X, the Smile X.
Yeah.
Let's just throw it in there. Sure, why not? That doesn't make sense. It doesn't make for a good movie.
Yeah, the Smilex thing was weird too, because Smilex is, again, it's one of those recurring things with the Joker in the comic books. Some of that stuff I thought was fairly clever, but not through him. This is basic storytelling stuff that he's got the entire city held hostage because they don't know what to mix and what not to mix in terms of cosmetics. And some of the stuff with the news anchors where they're completely no makeup.
I'm like, didn't they have combs in the office at least?
No, you don't know. That comb might have a chemical in the plastic. But I thought that those little bits were brilliant. Just showing them becoming more and more haggard and run down because they couldn't put any makeup on.
Yeah, I didn't mind it. It's just I thought, you know what, dude, he's got a big old zit right there. You could at least pop that without having to worry about chemicals. All right,
I know. I know. It's just part of the thing to give you the visual gag.
Yeah, it was a little nitpicky. I admit that. I apologize.
Right. It's just tough because back in 1989, this is still kind of running through Reagan's America, where there's where the government's issuing crack in the hood and all that. Jack Nicholson was the biggest star in the world.
Yeah.
And I mean, it was very much like getting Marlon Brando for Superman. You're getting the biggest star in the world, one of the most respected actors in the world, to be in your superhero movie that you don't know if it's going to sink or swim. But so I can understand that. I can understand why they got him. Now, the issue is that they did not rein him in because they essentially let him have the run of the place. And there are scenes that just are rudderless because it's just we haven't written that part yet. Just keep walking up that staircase.
Yeah,
What's going to be up there? We haven't figured that out yet, but just keep walking. We'll figure it out by the time you get up there.
there are definite scenes where I got shades of Jack Torrance from Stanley Kubrick's The Shining.
Yeah.
Jack is, when you don't reel in Jack just tends to be Jack,
Right.
no matter what makeup he's got on.
I think with that's a detriment to the movie.
Yeah.
A lot of the supporting cast in this movie is just simply not good. Robert Wall is there for comic relief, and I can understand that, but it's like you got to wonder what happened in between what happened to Alexander Knox in 89, what happened to him in 92. Did somebody kill him horribly?
Yeah, I wanted to really like Robert Wall's character, and I wanted to like Knox when I was rewatching this, but then that first scene where he meets Vicky Vale,
yep,
and I'm like, he's laying on so thick. I'm like, wow. Apparently there was no sexual harassment in 1989.
Yeah,
because she could have had his job and his ass on a platter.
Yep.
Whew.
In diddly do.
And he had some redeeming moments towards the end.
Yeah.
But I don't know. In general, I just felt very blasé about him.
He's a very superfluous character. He doesn't move the motion at all. He's there when things happen, but that makes him a Rosencrantz or a Guildenstern. It doesn't make him Polonius. I'm mixing my Shakespeare metaphors. So
I actually I preferred Bob the Goon over Knox.
Yeah, I'm one of those people that in my ideal midway sequel between Batman and Batman Returns, Bob lives.
I would have loved that.
Yeah, he got shot. You don't know if he died or not. But I thought Bob was good because Bob didn't say anything. He might have like five or six lines of dialogue, but he's just there to just be the Joker's main goon, his main guy.
That Jack Palance impersonation was not great.
No, well, it wasn't supposed to be. And then there's Kim Basinger, who's just the best thing she ever did won her an Oscar, and that's really all I can say about her. And that was LA Confidential, and that was 21 years ago.
Yeah, I didn't mind Vicky in this movie. I thought she was effective in the role she had.
If you rank the four girlfriends in the first thing,
she's number two.
In the top two. I mean, she's not going to beat Michelle Pfeiffer. No way. But
no.
Yeah, I mean, hell, I almost put Elle McPherson before I put Nicole Kidman.
Yeah.
Yeah, the girlfriend from Batman and Robin.
Yeah. Dr. Chase.
Meridian.
Yeah, you can tell how long it's been since I saw Forever.
Psychobabble. Yeah. But go ahead.
Well, I mean, another thing that really it didn't bug me when I first saw this movie, but as I watched this again, the fact that they substituted Jack Napier for Joe Chill and had Jack kill Bruce's parents, that really bugged me this time. I was like, there is no point for that to happen. That just seemed to be like we just want him to have a cyclical thing, so let's have him do that instead. I'm like, no. Ugh. Yeah, no.
It's this misguided trope that they tried to do in these movies, that your greatest villain is what created you in the first place. So they created each other. I know that Sam Hamm, the one of the screenwriters, in an interview on the Batman DVD box set, took full responsibility for it. It's like, listen, I'm sorry, we needed to move this story, and that's how we decided to move it. I apologize. I will get letters for the rest of my life saying I was wrong.
Yeah, I mean, like I said, when I first saw it, I was okay with it, but now knowing much more about the Batman, the actual Batman, comic story, and seeing all the more recent movies, it just seems like a very odd and misguided decision.
Yeah, and it takes the story. It just moves the story in an unnecessary way. Where if you had left that entire thing out, if you had just cut that entire little subplot out, the movie still moves along fine, and you've got 2 minutes removed from the runtime.
I also thought the scene in Vicky's apartment where the Joker supposedly kills Bruce.
Yeah.
I thought Michael Keaton was actually overacting that part. I didn't like his, well, let's get nuts.
Right.
I didn't like that.
Yeah, I'm not sure. Honestly, that's one of those scenes that I know that they wanted to put it in there so he could try to tell Vicky that he was Batman, but it just kind of falls flat. And again, a lot of that has to do with Jack just being Jack at that point.
Yeah.
What was the point of even having Jerry Hall in that movie?
Who was Jerry Hall?
Jerry Hall was Alicia. His girlfriend.
Yeah. I
understand why the character was there, but it was just like you could have hired anybody for that, not one of the most popular supermodels at the time.
Yeah, I mean, her as a character, I think she would have had a bigger impact if the Joker had killed her with Grissom at the beginning.
Right.
I mean, after that, she's there to show how demented the Joker is. Guess what? We didn't really need any more proof for that. We got plenty of it.
Right. I mean, it would have made more sense also if he had killed her at the museum in front of Vicky.
Yeah.
Instead of this whole thing where she threw herself off a 10-story window.
Did she actually do that?
Yeah, exactly. It's just again, it's just this unnecessary part of the movie. There's a lot of little story structure things. The movie takes forever to get where it is going.
Yeah, it's a really cool scene, but the scene where the Batmobile goes in, blows up Axis Chemicals, and then leaves, that just seemed so thrown in there. It was like there'd been no real confrontations. I mean, not really between Batman and Joker up to that point, and then suddenly he just drives in, blows it up, and drives out, and the Joker escapes. I'm like, that's just a very odd and random scene to just throw in there at the climax of the movie.
Not to mention, he cold-bloodedly murdered dozens of people in the building.
Yeah, I mean, going with Batman v Superman and Batman's kill count on that one, he actually had a pretty decent kill count in this one too.
Right, exactly. For the guy who doesn't kill people.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Also, I gotta say, the mayor was an idiot.
Oh, Ed Koch.
It's like, well, yeah, we got this homicidal maniac killing people at random, but we gotta have this 200th anniversary celebration.
Need the parade. That'll bring businesses back. The parade.
Yeah. When you've got like a homicidal maniac killing people at random all around, and you've got people dropping dead with smiles on their face, maybe cancel the parade. Maybe, I don't know. I'm not a politician. I don't know.
All right. What are your thoughts on Billy D. Williams as Harvey Dent?
I liked him. I thought he was he was very underused. I thought they could have given him more.
I love Billy D. Williams. I mean, a lot of the dialogue they gave him was just bad dialogue, and Billy D. doesn't do well with bad dialogue.
Yeah.
I do like the restraint that they showed, and I have a thought about that in just a second, that they didn't foreshadow a Two-Face turn at any point. What that says to me, however, is that there was never a point where they were like, okay, we're going to make a third one of these movies, and Billy D, you're Two-Face.
Yeah, I think they were just using him as the character, and they really had no plans to go anywhere with him.
It was just like one of those little Easter eggs that you throw into a movie just to like, ooh, hey, there's a character that appears later on. You know, like in Batman vs. Superman when Jimmy Olsen gets blown away in the first 2 minutes of screen time.
Hey, that's the second Star Wars alum in Batman '89.
That's true. Not Pat Hingle, William Hoopkins.
Yeah, Jack Porkins is Lieutenant Eckert.
I swear to God, all of his lines were ADR. There's no way that those sounds are coming out of that man's mouth.
Yeah. And that's another character. I kind of wish they'd gone with the Harvey Bullock and made him a little bit more of a likable character.
Yeah, well, they needed to off him very quickly.
And they did.
Right.
Very quickly.
Yeah, the Prince songs. All right, now, full disclosure, I'm a huge Prince fan, but a lot of these songs range from okay pop music to nonsense. And if you listen to the actual Batman album, the Bat Dance is just, it is a weird freaking song.
Yeah, I like some Prince. These songs are not really on the list of songs I like.
Right. I don't think anyone would say that The Future is their favorite Prince song.
Fair enough.
It's actually one of the better songs on that album too. I've seen the future, man, it will be. So I mean, all told, how does this hold up? I mean, we've already kind of said it's aged poorly. In the grand scheme of things, I mean, my takeaways from this movie, in terms of what came bigger, better, this was the first superhero movie where the costume really played a big part in the build-up and the excitement. This is the first time, and this cast a lot of doubts out of people's heads when they finally saw the muscled costume.
That being said, though, I don't think there should ever again be a scene where a fully costumed Batman has to run through the streets of Gotham with people all around him.
No.
That never looks good. It doesn't matter how good the suit is, that just looks goofy. And I saw that scene, I was like, oh, this is him running through the docks with a bomb over his head.
Yeah. No more wide shots of him trying to turn either. No, there's a scene. All right. It's shot from above, and he's got to look up, and he does this thing where his entire body has to flex backwards.
Yeah.
Now there is the one in the cathedral, where he turns around, and that was a nice, tight, shoulders up shot. That looked fine because he was doing a full 180 turn. He looked good doing that. But, when he's like, how much do you weigh? And he's just like, he's going to lean back and he's just going to move his entire body. It's like, oh, God, you'd never thought to turn your head. And the sick thing is it took 5 more movies before somebody was like, hey, Batman should be able to turn his head.
What the hell you say? Why didn't we think of that before?
Actually, Mr. Wayne, I want to turn my head.
Speaking of that final confrontation on top of the clock tower, top of the cathedral, kind of anticlimactic.
Kind of.
I mean, the only decent fight he had is against the big burly goon.
Yeah, who he again murders.
Yeah, he's not surviving that fall.
Right. And that would seem like a lot further down than that cathedral was tall.
I don't know. In the Burton with the Burton architecture, that was a tall cathedral.
Yeah. Yeah. So I mean, the costume. Now, here's the funny thing about that costume is, I love the lower portions of that costume. I like the musculature. I like that the mask does not fit.
Yeah. No.
You could fit your hand into either side of that mask. It just was poor fitting,
I would have liked to see like the eye holes be a little bit more to his eyes, so that you wouldn't have to see as much eye black.
Well, you know what? I actually thought that was a clever way. That was the first movie to do that, where they did the eye black to blend it in. That was fine. I mean, there's that goof in Batman Returns where he's looking at Selina, and then they cut back to him, and the eye black is gone as he's peeling off his mask. It's like, you could have done the cut then, and after he removed the mask.
Yeah.
Still a good movie.
Yeah. Are we doing final thoughts on this? Like, kind of.
I mean, it was just kind of where it's kind of held up in the pantheon at this point. Another thing I just wanted to talk about real quick is that for the movie that kind of made Tim Burton, this is the least Tim Burton movie in the Tim Burton filmography. This is a committee. This is a committee-made movie. This is a Warner Brothers movie that was commissioned by Warner Brothers, and he was just a hired hand to film this. He had more creative control with Disney than he did with Warner Brothers.
Yeah, when you rewatch the movie, you can definitely see that it feels like Burton was trying his best to put his own spin on it, but there's a lot of moments where it's like, I am quite confident Burton did not intend to do it that way.
Right.
Someone else forced him to.
Right. If I were to show my child like 5 Tim Burton movies, and I remove the credits and I just say, you're going to watch these 5 movies at random, and I want you to tell me what's similar about them, I guarantee director isn't one of them.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, that's a shame. I mean, I'm so glad that Warner Brothers learned their lesson.
That's funny.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it's just, I know Catherine's husband had brought up, this is like the movie that killed the villain, and that's how you would go through most movies up until, really, I mean, with some exceptions within the MCU, you don't really kill a lot of your villains.
Yeah, I mean,
if you do kill them, apparently they're coming back because you have your movie take place 20 years beforehand.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, another thing I did like about that, just trying to give some, like, that we're not just crapping on this movie.
Yeah.
The flashback sequence. As much as I hate the fact that they made it Jack Napier instead of Joe Chill.
Yeah.
The cinematography of that scene is very well done.
Oh, I agree. And I love the angles. It's all done from Bruce's point of view.
Yeah, it's all low angle shots until Jack actually comes in at the end, and then it's more from his point of view.
Right. And he comes out of the shadows to do that. And I thought that was actually pretty well done. And there's some other cinematic flourishes in that I liked a lot. Honestly, the most iconic shot in that entire movie with the Batwing going up against the full moon. I thought that was a clever little bit.
I don't know. I kind of thought that was a little bit more of a nudge, wink, see what I did there? Yeah,
It was a quick little thing. The people that caught it got a little laugh out of it, and then that ended up becoming the cover for the Elfman score.
Yeah. It just seemed a little bit of a look at the fourth wall. Yeah.
So, overall thoughts on the movie? A scale from 1 to 10. How would you grade Batman '89?
When I originally saw it, it was probably an 8. This time, it's probably more of I'll go 6.
Okay.
I kind of an odd comparison, but I call this one the Thomas Jefferson of comic book movies.
Okay, explain that, please.
There is no denying the impact that it had. I mean, Thomas Jefferson wrote the Declaration of Independence. He was the 3rd president. It was he helped create this country. But if you actually look at him as a person, he's got a lot of skeletons in his closet. There's lots of chinks in that armor, shall we say?
Yep.
And that's something, that's this movie. If you look at how it is in the pantheon of comic book movies, it is one of those pillars. It is the foundation upon which all of them have been made. But if you look at it just on its own as a film, it doesn't quite polish up quite as nice as you might have thought when you first saw it.
Right. It's tough. Honestly, it's tough in this day and age of great superhero movies to show this to like my kids and be like, when I was young, this was an amazing movie. I would have in '89. I would have scored this a 9. I'm going to score it at 6.5. There's still something very much I like about this movie. A lot of it has to do with more with aesthetics. It has to do with production stuff. It has to do with that score. And I love Michael Keaton. I think Michael Keaton is such a fantastic choice for both Batman and Bruce Wayne.
I don't disagree. Those are pretty much the same reasons I still count it as 6. I mean, I do consider it still an overall enjoyable movie.
Right.
It's just nostalgia had played a lot of part in knocking that up to an 8 at the time.
Exactly. And that's the thing too, is that when you take this and you compare it to really the Nolan verse, this movie takes a huge hit.
Absolutely.
I mean, more so than Returns does. I think Returns, its detractors will have always been its detractors, and its supporters have always been its supporters. And from the supporting end, like I am, and I know Joe.
Oh yeah,
Joe loves Returns. He and I, it didn't take that big of a hit when the Nolan stuff came out. The Nolan stuff is superior to any of these movies, but this movie took a huge hit because Batman Begins shows you how to really handle the origin. And
The Dark Knight shows you how to handle the Joker. Right.
Exactly. And in a way, too, that isn't so, let's just let our high-paid actor do his high-paid actor shtick.
Right. Yeah.
So, yeah. Eventually, I'll probably watch this one again. I'm actually looking forward to seeing, I saw in the news today that Superman is coming back for its 40th anniversary.
Yeah, and in November.
That might be one we might want to review at some point, maybe after seeing it.
I would not be opposed to that.
I think that's Thanksgiving weekend, so we'll have to try to figure out, make that plan.
Yeah, that works. I mean, I'll be out in California the week before that.
Oh, okay,
but
that's fine.
Yeah, I'll be back in time for that, and yeah, I mean, we could probably go see it in theaters, and then
then come back and do this.
Yeah.
Hey. So we're not really sure what we're gonna do yet. This was kind of a test for our new video series. After the MCU things, after our Disney World recaps, Mike and I were trying to figure out some other topics to talk about. So I think the long form movie review is going to be something that we want to continue with, and something that we're going to try to figure out what the next one is. It's obviously more than likely is going to be another genre film.
Yeah. I mean, if you've got any suggestions, please comment on this video below.
Right, exactly. Please, we'd love to know what you want us to talk about, especially for two guys in their 40s talking about movies that came out when we were teenagers. It would be interesting. So please comment below. Don't forget to like this video. Subscribe to Geek Salad if you haven't done so already. Also, don't forget, we are at Podbean. So it's geeksalad.podbean.com. You can download the app and get the full archive of 166 plus shows.
Well, a little bit under
except for some of the older, badder episodes,
yeah.
Which we just have had no interest in putting back up. One day we will. We'll do an archival purge. It'll be hilarious. You can also listen to us on iTunes, at Stitcher, at Spotify, and at Google Music. So no matter what your poison is in terms of listening to podcasts, we are everywhere.
Yeah. So,
and also, if you have any additional suggestions, you can reach us at Twitter at Geek Salad Radio. Geek Salad Radio at Gmail is our email address, and you can like us on Facebook at Geek Salad Podcast. So, Yeah.
Yeah.
That was Batman. So until next time, I'm Andy.
And I'm Mike.
Go forth and be nerdful. We'll talk to you later.
I'm Batman.